everyone, Valerie Frost here, host of Community Insight Podcast, and we are back with Behind the Insight.
You have to be open to the notion that all of us are probably doing some things that we could do better. And that when somebody comes and says, hey, why don't you do this? It's not a criticism, it's a request.
Can you say that again? When someone comes to you and says, hey, can you do this? It is not a criticism, it is a request. How come a judge can say that, but people with lived experience can't say that? I am not criticizing you. I am asking you to care about other human beings. I'm offering you recommendations. I am trying to collaborate with you.
And so you had this situation where you were paying this exorbitant amount of money for a service, and that's awesome if you're getting something. You know, if the kid's getting better, then you want to make...
I wish we had this conversation more often. Why are we spending so much money and not seeing meaningful impact? Because you know what I've seen a whole lot of lately is people spending an exorbitant amount of money, not getting impact, knowing there's not impact, and then giving more money or just continuing to give the same amount of money. So at this point, this is a choice. Now you're actually paying for failure. This is the part I don't understand. Everybody needs to listen to this, whether you are in the courtroom or not. Everyone in child welfare needs to listen to this episode. This is why I wanted this episode brought back.
I don't know how in the world you can get a new worker on. Because the only way they can train is with each other. And if you have too much turnover, how do you make sure that that goes? And how do you make sure that there's some uniformity? And more importantly, how do you make sure that you empower those folks to do the things that they need to do? Because the people that
I really love this though. Like, bringing people together to have real conversations about what is going to work and what are barriers, and actually seeing measurable change. I'm in so many spaces where I'm like, I just don't know that impact is the focus. I don't see impact. I will tell you my CPS involvement, let's see, I think it's 8. My CPS involvement 5 years ago and last year, I did not see any difference at all in how anything was. My experience in community as a mother, I don't see any difference. So like, I am here for conversations about measurable change.
Well, part of it's just a choice. Part of it is that judges that do this kind of work, especially when we're talking about child dependency cases and things of the sort, part of it is what kind of judge do you want to be? And there's nothing wrong with either choice, to be honest. If you're kind of more on the balls and strikes side, I think there's nothing in the world wrong with that. For me, that was never enough because I found that to be just frustrating. And so I think when I talk to judges about playing a role in their system, I think what's really important is that they understand that not only helps everybody around you, but it's also in its own way a form of self-empowerment. Because the decisions that we make and the choices that we have aren't dictated by us. It's dictated by everything else. And so, again, if we're kind of this cog in the wheel, we're getting information from all these things that are around us and how they're interacting. And so how well those function and how well information travels between those things makes a difference in what the options are that we ultimately have. So if we talk about creating a system that has a greater opportunity for earlier intervention, then we might still see the same kids, but now we might see them when they're in the first grade.
Yeah, he's just really wise. I wanted you all to hear all of that because that was really key. It's really just like taking your power back in your position, because he's saying like, if I don't do anything on a broader systemic advocacy level, my job every day is going to be stuck looking like this. And so I'm only really positioned to deal with what's in front of me. But if I find a way to advocate on a broader systems level, then what is in front of me every day will be different.
These things, you can see them coming if you're looking.
So there's like, Judge Stunner uses this word a lot, like empower. And I think there's a lesson for us all to learn here, really, because I'm just thinking about my situation as an advocate and a lived experience leader, and how helpless I feel often, and how I say, those that are systems aligned, those are in the system, those are systems adjacent, those with power. And it's really hard to think of your position where there is power in your position. And he's talking about it. Like, there are all these people in community that have these roles that I am not doing their work. So there's nothing I can really do. And then even with the families, no matter what I do for the families, with the families, whatever, ultimately they're still going to make their own choices. But he's talking about grappling with that and finding a way to still bring power and hopefully to give power to everyone involved. And I think that's something that I think about a lot, is where I'm at and with what I can change and influence, where is my power? And how can I give power to others to make sure that those that are influenced by what I do have the best outcome they possibly can have?
And all the work's done outside of here, but I'm going to take my shot at it and let them know that I believe in them. But and maybe that makes a difference for them. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they're just like, that's that old dude talking to me.
And the judge that I had always made a point of just talking to me as a human. He was an older gentleman. I was 17 or whatever, scared of a courtroom. But we had a conversation, and so I came.
Listen, Elliot, I'm 36 and I'm scared of a courtroom. So I don't know if age has anything to do with it. I think courtrooms are scary.
And so you need to own your successes. And so make good decisions, and then we can go from there. And I found with a lot of kids,
I have to respectfully disagree that making good decisions hands you success.
You talked about crotchety old dudes, and maybe that's just how I heard it. I don't know. But you did talk about a predecessor having kind of set the climate a bit.
Why was Sequoia allowed to say this on the podcast? Not that anybody is censored, but still.
And the great thing about that is that organizationally, and this is kind of like organizational theory. I mean, the number one reason why people do things a certain way is because it's the way they've always done it. That's the number one rule. It's why change is so hard.
Yes.
But when you've created a system of care that really is responsive and transparent, and now it's the way everybody does business, then that's going to...
This is what I want. I want to create a structure where people are not okay with hearing this is the way we've always done it. I want to create a structure that is responsive. I forgot the other word. Sorry, Judge Duggar. But this is what I want. I want to normalize people being able to have difficult conversations, hard conversations, and for them to actually not even be perceived as difficult or hard, to be perceived as normal. That when we talk about lingering gaps, when we talk about a distance between intent and impact, that isn't a forbidden conversation, that we need to be polite and surface level and nothing else is acceptable here. That is what, if I wanted to say the legacy of my leadership, that I would want to create structural change. That maybe I don't create actual change, but I wanted to change the structure. That is what I want.